Are you tired of not having any war bonds? Well, let me show you. I'm going to give you the rundown of all the stats that I managed to get through 5 hours, pretty much grinding out only super credits. This was farmed today and within a reasonable amount of time. At least I would say so. I mean, these are only what, $10? Yeah, if you wanted to buy some super credits, this is $10. I don't know if microtransactions get taxed or not, but this would what be $11 with tax. So $10 without tax, $11 with tax, and you would pretty much get this in the amount of time that I've spent farming this. Now, is it worth it? So let me give you the rundown. So for about, it's pretty much been 5 hours since I've been grinding, and how I would write the time down that I was basically farming is whenever I would lose a member of my squad, or let's say like I'm in a mission with four and then everybody leaves because they're all bored or they've been doing it for so long. Let's say we did it for 40 minutes and everybody wants to go. I would then stop the timer and then restart the timer whenever I found the new group that seemed very efficient at farming super credits, and I would start the timer again with those people. So it's 5 hours of pretty much in-game time, but I do count the time that I come back into the spaceship, restart the mission, and then drop back down to the planet to then redo the run all over again. Now, I actually have to go over the timers. So let me give you the first hour of me farming so that you can see what I personally did. Now, in the first hour, I didn't know what I was doing all that much for like the first 2 to 3 to 4 runs, which they don't last very long. It's like 5 minutes with a decent team. Sometimes it's even quicker depending on how fast you're able to get your team to coordinate with each other. And so the first run that we ended up having for our super credits was, now the first run that we ended up doing, we did it for about an hour. Now remember, I did the first like 1 to 2 to 3 missions solo, and it wasn't the most efficient. The only reason I kept that in there is because on the first and second time that I did it, I got lucky, and the first time I got 40 super credits and the second time I got 30. Now this can vary. Apparently, if you get really lucky, you can get about 100 super credits per run, but you get really, really, really lucky. The most that I ended up getting was 70. I think this happened once, and then we got 60 another time. And then on average, you get about 50 and under. 10 through 30 are way more common than 40 and 50 and 60. 60 was really rare. We only got that once. And then 70 was also really rare. We only got that once within 5 hours of playing. But yeah, the number was 290 on the very first turn. Now, believe it or not, this is actually pretty crazy, but on our second run, which once again was another hour of playtime after the first, we did this consistently right back to back. You couldn't believe this, but it was also 290. So another hour went into the game. Now, this one was a little bit more efficient, but of course, RNG plays a big part of how much you'll actually be able to get. Sometimes you get really lucky, and other times you can get really unlucky. And that just depends on RNG. Once again, I've never gotten 100, but I've heard from multiple people that they've done this for a long time, and you can apparently get 100, if not around 100, sometimes if you get, once again, really, really lucky. Now, that's 2 times in 1 hour that we got 290. So that's a pretty good number. Now we go on to the third, fourth, and fifth. Now, I calculated all of these up together. So, and then the next one, so I just calculated all 3 of these together because I didn't have the individual amounts, but we ended up getting 810 in the next 3 hours of farming, and I did not lose these numbers, and we did not end up messing this up a singular time. Now, so we had 290, then 290 again, and then we had 810 through the next 3 hours after those 2 hours. So if we were to divide the 810 by 3, we get 270 per hour, which once again, this goes back to the first and second hour, which is pretty consistent, right? We're around 290 on the first and the second, and dividing the 810 that we got in the next 3 hours after those two, it rounds up to about 270 per hour. So we're getting around 300 to 250 per hour. I'm going to say 270 to 300. That's what my average was. Of course, we didn't get anything like really lucky with like 100 drop or anything like that. The highest we got was 70. I did make sure to write that down, and I looked through all the footage. It was 70. So our average amount of credits that we get per hour is 270. That's what I'm gonna go with, or 280 if you want to be a little bit nitpicky. Take that from what you will. And this was probably with more efficient people than you're probably typically going to find, trying to get as many good players as possible to spawn in the middle, spread out in all 4 directions, get as much as we can, and then leave the mission as fast as possible. And this was throughout all of my missions. This was pretty consistent. I did not have like terrible players rooting my runs or making it going a lot slower than it normally does. And even then, when you're farming for multiple hours, you will 100% do something stupid and try to have fun. But yeah, is that worth it though? In reality, if you wanted to sit there and grind this way, it's pretty boring. I didn't really have fun doing it. Made it way more insufferable than it would have been if I was just doing it by myself or if I was doing it with like people that were boring. So it wasn't too bad. So thankfully I had some good people to do this stuff with. Now, the next thing is you not only get super credits, which is, probably the main reason you're going to be doing this in the first place, but you also get the medallions to then use on the war bonds that you're purchasing to then unlock the upgrades for the war bond. So it's not only going in and then getting super credits, you also get a little small bonus of medallions throughout doing this. I don't know how many I actually managed to get within 5 hours, but I probably should have noted that down. But I can probably say it's around 500-ish because I did unlock all of this stuff and I had 250 at the start, and over time I got another 250. So I would say around 500, if not more, you would end up getting of medallions. So make sure that you have a battle pass that you are currently using those medallions on so that you can get a little bit more incentive if you do plan on farming super credits in the first place. So the overall total of this little test that I ended up running, now the numbers seem pretty average: 290, 290, and then 270 three times, or maybe one was 240, then we got lucky, we got like 290 or 300 one run. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, in 5 hours, we ended up making 1,390 super credits off of farming. And once again, this is not just your typical farm. This was with people that were more often knowing what they're doing and moving around a lot faster. They had the backpacks to get inside of the bunkers solo. They instantly spawned in their cars and immediately got to work. If you manage to get better players, maybe you could make it a little bit more efficient. Maybe you can get like another 30 to 50 in per hour, and then you would be around like 310 to 320. But ultimately, I don't think you'd be able to do that. I don't think it's that possible to be able to sit here and to farm out those super credits any more efficient than I was for a long period of time without losing all your brain cells. Now, is it worth farming for 5 hours to make $10 worth of in-game currency? Now, you have to keep in mind you don't get any XP, you don't level up your weapon, and you're pretty much going to be stuck in those missions doing the most boring activities known to man. I'll leave that for you. Is it worth it? Which a legendary war bond is worth 1,500. So in 5 hours of gameplay, you will not be able to get this. You'd pretty much need 6 hours to get this, and that's not the overall time. You have to keep in mind, whenever I lost my team or squad, I would stop the timer and then only continue the timer after I was able to get back with a good group and then restart from where I left off. So it's probably maybe in total 6 to 7 hours with all the BS and random things that go on within the game. Maybe I lagged out of a mission. Maybe I got kicked for some odd reason. I didn't have the right gear that they wanted, or I didn't have the teleport backpack, and they don't want you there unless you're able to go in those bunkers by yourself. Although I did bring the mech, so I was able to do that even without the backpacks. Although right now I do have the backpack because I spent 1,000 of my currency on getting this war bond right here so I can unlock this little purple backpack. Yeah, so in total, maybe it's like 6 to 7. Oh my gosh, 6, 7. Yeah, maybe it's like 6 or 7 hours in total that you will end up spending to get 1,390 super credits. Now, remember, maybe you have friends and y'all can efficiently coordinate this and try to get that going. I'm gonna just personally say it's not really worth it. That's a lot of time played, and you need to have good teams in order to make it work. There are times where we let like a level 23 in there. They don't got the car. They're basically not doing anything. You're down a player. So you have to fill in for that guy, which is going to overall in a long span of time diminish the efficiency of the farm that you're trying to do. So you really need good players to make it the most efficient and actually get the most value out of it as you possibly can. And funny enough, in the first one where I got 290, I was probably more lucky there, even though I was going slower and not going as fast, but I got luckier with slower speeds. But then the last 3 that I was with a really good team that was pumping out, knew exactly what they were doing, I actually managed to get less super credits from those than I did from the first one. So keep that in mind when you do end up farming this. This is RNG based, but you will on average probably get around 250 to 300 super credits, depending on how lucky you are within the game. And also keep in mind how efficient your team is. But just wanted to make this video. I thought it would be interesting. If you guys have any other statistics, I might do another 5 hours in the future to see how accurate it is, but only sweat as hard as I possibly can within the next 5 hours to see what the most efficient time that you can get and the most efficient number of super credits you can get for your time within a reasonable amount of time as well. But yeah, maybe you don't want to spend your money on microtransactions. Maybe you have other things you want to spend your money on in life, and you just want a way to get these war bonds without needing to I don't know, drop all your hard-earned money. But 5 hours to basically not even get a legendary war bond is kind of crazy. I mean, it's not that good. Like, that's a pretty unreasonable amount of time with efficient gameplay, knowing what we're doing, going as fast as we possibly can, and still not being able to purchase this thing in 5 hours is kind of disgusting. But hey, choose what you want, get what you want in life. I managed to buy 2 war bonds with that, so that's not too bad. It helped me fill out I had like 600 when I started, and it helped me get to 1,000. And then I also got another 1,000 within the next couple of hours of farming, so I was able to buy now another war bond. And of course, I'm going to be buying the one with the minigun. Yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. It really helps out my channel. If you found this video to be informative, leave a like, subscribe, help out the video, leave a comment. Tell me how much super credits you've managed to farm in your amount of times, because this was ran over 5 hours, and I kept very close note on what it is that I was doing and who I was playing with. But I love you guys, and peace.